This is kind of an interesting subject to address, especially for the first night of a gathering of a 5-week series. But if you recognize that the greatest miracle of Jesus, according to Jim Martin and many others, is bringing Lazarus back to life, then we also got to kind of think about death. And so I wanted to offer a couple reflections. And I think it's important to recognize that as we continue to get older and older, our reflections on death evolve and change. My grandma, on my dad's side, passed away in the middle of my high school life. And it was an interesting time. We had a nice sized yard, and we had decided to plant bushes that were kind of going to border the yard. And so the bushes had just arrived, and the plan was that we're going to spend the weekend and dig and plant and do that. But notification came to us in Philadelphia that my grandmother in Michigan had passed away, and we needed to get things done. And so we spent a solid morning and a half doing a weekend job, getting those bushes planted and watered, and delegated somebody else to continue to come by and tend for them in the upcoming week. And off we went to Michigan for a funeral. I remember being a pallbearer. I remember my uncles and my dad and my family played, like my grandmother did, a lot of cards and had a fair amount of drinking. And that's what I remember out of that. And we had a sense of an Irish wake. And that was my experience, first experience significantly of death. My father passed away when I was in my early 30s. And we had a similar experience in terms of the wake family celebration experience. And not as much with family as with our community and neighbors. And that was great. But there was a real miracle that kind of happened that we were planning for the funeral. I'm the oldest of 4 brothers. And we kind of met each other along the way. I flew from Iowa back to Philadelphia, and in Chicago, I encountered my number 2 brother, who was flying from LA to Chicago to Philadelphia. And we got picked up at Philadelphia Airport by number 3 and number 4 brother. And then we got to the house and we visited with my mom. And in each one of those stages, the plan for the funeral evolved. So much so that within an hour of us being home, as all the brothers and my mom together at the dining room table, we had a good, solid plan, and just were able to, experience everything else from there on in. That was kind of a miracle, kind of a blessing. I've had other experiences where I've given a eulogy for an uncle, and that became a real celebration of life. I was really aware of listening to my cousins tell stories about their dad, and that really became the eulogy, and is celebrating a good man leading a good life. And now I'm in my 60s, and my understanding of funerals is getting to be more and more different. I The last 3 years, I had a good friend and a coworker, and she passed away. And there's still and all those other funeral experiences, I had an experience of missing the person, wishing I could still be in contact with the person a little bit, but I didn't feel the loss as greatly as I did with Margaret, and still feel the loss today. So, my dad's been gone for 30 years. My son was born just 2 days before he passed, and it's interesting uh, to watch the progression of time in my son in terms of how long it's been since my dad's passed. But it's Margaret was a game changer. So for me, uh, what what is the afterlife like? I don't know. I know death changes things. I know death is an absence, and it's an absence of that person's life, and for that person, it's an absence of life for them as well too. And what comes after that, you know, I think part of the absence is the opportunity for peace. I know we often use the phrase rest in peace, but I think um, life's not always easy. Life is hard. And I think there's um, a gain for peace that happens in death. And um, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity for peace. I think I'm going to find that peace in my relationship with God. And I hope I have hints and moments of that peace presently. But I'm looking forward to the final peace and the final rest and the completion of it all. Will that new life bring new opportunity? I don't know. We'll see. But I do believe in new life, and I do believe that there are small deaths and experiences of life. You move from one place to another, it's a death. You move from one relationship to others, it's a death. But it's finding the peace in those small deaths that I think help us practice for the end times, the end of our existence, the end of our time, the end of others' times around us. Not easy, and not easy, especially to do in a camera all by yourself. I'm hoping you guys have better conversations about what you think about death and what your take or experience about death is.